And we are live.
Let's go.
You know what it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Get into it. Don't act like you don't already know the name. Let's go. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? You heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? I said you heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? I said you heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. That was all. Now let's listen.
I'm going to get a tambourine to keep that end of the music, or the end of the
Please.
song up. I'm going to get a tambourine to keep the energy high. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Mother and Son Making Sense Out of Nonsense.
Plus more. Plus
Let's
so
get in.
much more.
Let's get into it. But before we do, like and subscribe. And don't forget, the latest book, Program for Unhappiness, is on Amazon right now. Amazon, Lulu, and Barnes and Noble. Thank you. We're gonna do a really good promotional in September, but that I digress. Hi, Nathan. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Do you have a word? Well, I like the promos. I mean, get the promos out early, get them out right at the beginning. Do you have a word?
I do have a word of the day, but my word of the day involves a short story.
Oh, well, I'll do my word and then we'll hear yours. So my word is eclectic. Eclectic.
Eclectic.
Or eclectic, I'm sorry.
Eclectic.
It's the definition is deriving ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. The sentence is universities offering an eclectic mix of courses. I heard this word recently. I've used it here and there, but I just think it's such a fun word. It's such a smart sounding word, and it really fits my personality, and I think yours too. So I'm looking forward to using eclectic.
And guess what? I hear our show. I don't know why. I hear our show in the kitchen because I have the YouTube on. So keep everybody involved. I'll be right back.
Oh, well, that's good news, everybody. That means we get a break. How is everybody doing? Boy, last week for me. Well, the beginning of last week was rough. I can't even remember what was going on. Just a lot of things in the morning before the show started. And then I logged on last minute, another recipe for tension and stress. I think I tried to go to the beach before the show started and just doing too much before. So this week I had a very different intention. And look at what a good mood I'm in compared to last week.
Are we talking about the past again? Well, listen, everybody, wake up now. I'm back.
Wait, well, some of us like to wake up gently.
That's true.
This is a morning show.
It depends on what part of the world you're in. We have listeners all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world. Santa Claus, the reindeer, and his sled. Inside joke.
Inside joke. Well, I do. One of my topics is what did you just say?
All over the world.
Waking up and I'm already. Anyway, what's your word? What's your story?
Well, it's a very short story, but it definitely ties into this word. But I love the word eclectic, Nathan. I use it a lot. Well, scratch that. I don't use it a lot, but I do use the word eclectic from time to time. It's a great word. In fact, I remember, it's a great word, eclectic, meaning a variety of things. He had an eclectic career. Eclectic.
You have an eclectic group of friends.
Yes, I do.
And one of my topics is the past, which I look forward to talking about in the future on our show. But you go ahead first with your story.
Well, thank you. Well, we had two listeners and now they're gone.
Well, I mean, I've heard that story before. And if it's those same two listeners that come in the beginning and leave, good riddance. Stick around. Stick around a while. Make yourself comfortable. Put your feet up.
Y'all come back now here. That's from the Beverly Hillbillies
I
theme
know.
song.
I recognize that. All right.
So so yesterday I washed my sheets. And after I washed my sheets, they're nice, they're cool, they're crisp. And so I was getting in bed and I was just feeling the coolness of the sheets. I said, they feel extra cool today. But it felt great. I was just laying in bed and I said, okay, it's time to go to sleep. And I reached down to pull up the covers.
I know how this story is going to end.
You do?
Yes.
Can I finish it without the interruption?
Yes. Well, but first, my guess is that the sheets are still wet, but continue.
How do I say this politely without hurting his feelings? Wrong.
You just love to be right and love others to be wrong. Well, I do too.
Well, it's not that I love to be right. It's just that I usually am.
Touche.
Capiche?
Apologies for my interruption. Please continue.
Please. Apologies.
Hopefully we can get through the end of the story before the show ends.
If you stop interrupting me, we may be able to, Mr. Nonsense. So I'm feeling the coolness of the sheets, and then I said, okay. I reached down to pull up to pull up the sheets, the top sheets.
Then what happened?
And I had reached down farther. I'm trying to pull up the sheets to make this a wrap. Let's go to sleep. And guess what? I was on the top of the bed. I didn't even get under the covers. I was on top of the bed.
Well, you really are of an anomaly. So you were pulling the sheets, but you were on top, so it was nothing to pull.
Exactly.
Well, sounds like you were really tired.
Well, no, that is which reminds me of which leads right into my word. But the reason why I was trying to pull, I was on top of the bed. That's never happened before. And I was drinking. I've been drinking.
I've been drinking.
But I wasn't drinking, but I was doing something. Get it? And so my word of the day is debauchery. Have you ever heard that word, Nathan?
I have. That's a really good word.
So it's spelled DEBAUCHERY. And it means extreme indulgence in bodily pleasures, and especially it's a sexual pleasures, behavior involving sex, drugs, alcohol, etc. So I had a debauchery of an evening last night. Hence, I'm going to sleep on the top of the bed and didn't even realize it.
That is so funny. Well, what a fun story and word of the day. And yeah, that's what's up. I didn't know that that's what debauchery meant. I thought it meant something else. I thought it meant shenanigans. Well, I guess that's partly true.
Well, yeah, shenanigans is good. Bad sexual behavior, drinking too much alcohol, taking drugs, etc. A life of debauchery. And that's your mother.
Excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures.
Taking drugs, too much.
I heard you the first two times. But I will say this, I think one of the problems you have, if I may say so.
Well, I'm looking at one of the problems I have.
Got 99 problems, and I am one of them. Well, the problem is you after your debauchery evening is you didn't sound like you looked for your bed before you got in the bed.
Get it?
Thank you. Another inside joke. Well, I'll go to me since you've been talking for a while. Actually, one of my topics is talkers, and well, I have two topics. Let's go to the past first because you brought it up, and you're diving to the past.
Can we just get to the point as opposed to explaining the point and then getting to it?
So the topic is the past, and when is it appropriate, and when is it unconscious noise? What are we doing? Because we were going back and forth with some voice memos, and you were sharing about your past experience, and I found it really helpful. I also there was something about the way you were sharing that it didn't feel like I was stuck in the past listening to you or you were stuck in the past talking about it. It felt like very present moment. So I want to and then I want to include the future in that too. And I told you before, sometimes I'll do future journal entries where I write as if it's the end of the day and the day that I had. And then a lot of times it will come true the way I wrote it. So what is this thing with time and past and future and present?
Well, let me say this to be very specific. We were talking about relationships. We were talking about how to navigate relationships that are sometimes challenging. And I was sharing with you the worst relationship I won't mention his name, the worst relationship that I've ever been in my entire life that lasted at least 2 decades, the worst relationship. And I was going back and just remembering why I thought it was so bad. What was the chemistry, the chemistry that scratched the chemistry, the incompatible energy, and why did I stay? And it was just a series of observations. And at this point, 2024, I can't come up with the story as, well, I stayed there because I didn't feel valued, or I stayed there or trying to
Because
any story. And so you just describe me. So there's a difference between describing, judging, and just bringing up a point to get some wisdom out of it. So I experienced this. I experienced this. What did I learn from it? How did it shift me? How did it change me? How did it expand my consciousness? And that's what you're talking about when going to the past. It's doing research.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I love how you said that, expanding to get wisdom, to observe, and without the story, there's something when we talk about it, if there's an emotional charge or not, if it's a reliving of the past, we don't want to relive it. The past is in the past, but to bring it forward with some wisdom. And I didn't feel you reliving it. And the other thing I thought was really interesting is if there's no stories of why you did this and why they did this and why it worked and why it didn't work and what I should, all of that, then it just is the way it is or was the way it was for our betterment. And it doesn't, I think for me the challenge is making sense of it. Well, why was it that felt good in this way, it didn't feel good in that way? The shoulds, the coulds, trying to make sense of this. You said 2 decades, years, all any of that. This journey that seems it's not a straight line.
It comes all the way back to this. It's very simple. And the program, when I say program, the program is to complicate. The program is to attach a story. The program is to say, well, you're with somebody that because you didn't value yourself, you have low self-esteem. And that's why, no, the truth is, this is what I believe, that all relationships, all experiences, I'm there for a reason. They're there to expose something. They're there to teach me something. And when I look at it like that, I learned so much about self. And what were my lessons? I learned, just very quickly, I learned that I learned how to recognize energy that's not compatible instantly. And trying to make energy that's not compatible, I tried that for years. And it just doesn't work. A fish is not going to date an elephant unless it's desperate.
This is really that's yeah, compatible energy, pants that don't fit, climate, a penguin living in the jungle, summer climate, jungle climate. So just what is the environment? What is compatible?
And I'm gonna say this. There was a video that I was watching about people dating, and they were saying that, when you go out on a first date, you try to take them to these wonderful places, impressive places. How about just doing what you do all the time? If you walk to the library every day, that's the date, walking to the library. But I even go deeper. The questions are: number one, this is if I'm just meeting someone, anyone, what makes you angry? You know somebody, you get to know them pretty quickly when they answer that question. What irritates you? What makes you angry? And then the other question that I ask is, what did the other person say? If you're in a relationship, past relationship, ex, what did your ex say about you? What were their complaints? And that gives me an idea if somebody is self-aware, or can even mention, or can even say truthfully, well, they complained about A, B, C, or D. Usually it goes back to them. It's always the blame, the other person. The other person is the bad one. Oh, they're a narcissist. Well, there's a dance partner for a narcissist, and they're on the same level.
Well, it sounds like I've heard those questions before, and they're almost trick questions, because it answering the question, it's not so much about the answer, it's how they answer it. And is there a victim mentality? Is it a blaming? Which I can relate to. It's so much easier to blame the other person in relationships, and so much easier to look at them like, well, because they didn't do this, they didn't do that. That's that mirror you got in your class, right? I love that one.
Yeah, I love
I
that
was there. I
too.
was there for the gifting of that.
Yes, you were.
Anyways, so yes, because of them, the narcissists, they're unavailable. They. What about me? What, like you said, the relationships are there to teach me. And what I've learned is what am I doing and what I'm not doing. And a lot of times, if I'm blaming the other person, for example, something simple like texting me or calling me. They don't text me, they don't call me. Well, am I texting them and
You mean
calling?
like you don't text me or you don't call me? You mean like that?
Well, that's not true. And listen, I'm trying to survive your texts.
Oh,
I'm
please.
trying to survive. I'm up here being pummeled daily.
Are
Well,
you kidding?
semi-daily.
Please. Oh, come on. Well, you'll miss my text when I'm gone.
That may or may not be true. I do know this: if and when you do go before me, I'll have plenty of texts in the archive.
Touche. That
So
was really good. That was
so
good. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I want to say something about this relationship thing. And I heard this years ago from one of my friends who I thought was really funny. Remember Pam? I won't say the last name. Anyway, she says a woman, and I'm going to throw in a man too, needs a pair and a spare. Getting, what is that? Do you hear that echo?
I don't hear it.
Yeah, there's an echo. You don't hear that?
No.
Did you have the YouTube on?
No, I don't have anything on. I don't
Okay.
didn't change anything.
Okay, I don't hear it now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone now. Anyway, a pair and a spare. In other words, I'm just going to speak for myself, thinking that I'm going to get everything and this is the other thing. What do I need from someone else? Me needing anything from anyone else. I need them to A, B, C, or D is already a disaster.
Well, I remember pair and a spare. I remember you saying that a long time ago. And what I know for me now is no, I can't ask any one person to fulfill all the needs. I mean, that's a fantasy. And I don't know, a pair, romantic partner, sexual partner, maybe. I think that's so personal of how many partners I need for one particular thing. Maybe it is one romantic sexual partner. Maybe it's three. Maybe it's infinite. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to really dive deep and ask myself, what do I want? What do I need? And figure it out as I go.
And then the other thing is, who is the I? Who is the I that you're trying to fulfill? What is the I that you're trying to satisfy? For me, it's just, okay, universe, you're in charge of this. Whoever pops in, whoever shows up is supposed to be there. And it's my practice to not have any expectations of the future, of their behavior, all of that. And that's on me. And if I come with I need something from a person, even if it's a phone call, I need you to call me every day, I'm going to have a problem. It's my problem. Needing anything from another person is already the beginning of a disaster. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, this is a good tangent, at least for my next topic, which is help. And what it means in getting help. And you've talked about help and just ask, and then I what comes to mind is a really simple example when you're at the
I
the
live
gro-
it, girl.
what's happening at the grocery store, and then you get help with groceries from your car. So I'm thinking about help, and I was listening to one of my friends talking about her relationship with her husband, and they're not communicating, she says. And so she wants to get a therapist or a counselor or someone to help with their communications because it's not happening. And what I like about that, or what made me think, was what's wrong with getting help in something that's not happening?
Okay.
I know
Well,
every situation is so different, but
I'm gonna use the word a different perspective
okay.
as opposed help different perspective. It's the same thing. Getting aid, but this is what I would say. And what this happens, especially in relationships and women that say that the men aren't communicating. Well, I'm not going to put a general, but I would bet that this person, husband, wasn't communicating prior to getting married. And I'm just speak for myself, always wanting to change the other person so I can get something from them. Some people are just not communicators. The problem is you don't accept husband that doesn't communicate. And wanting someone to do what you do, I want them to communicate like I communicate. Is that's really what's going on. And so if someone is quiet or not communicating, then either I accept them or I don't. It's wanting someone to be different so I'll feel better.
Right.
Let her
I
know I said that.
Yeah, I will. I'll let her know right after our call, right after our show. It's so tough. I think that yes, wanting someone to be different so I'll feel better is a recipe for a disaster. And and also people do change. I mean, we do change, but it's not we can't
Not everyone changes. Not everybody changes. Not everybody changes. My mother, my father were the same people here to there. I mean, as far as maybe medical, but same. There was no growth there. Zero.
Well, that's your perspective on someone else,
Okay.
right?
You saw your grandfather changing. How did he change?
I have no idea. I didn't care. I don't care how he changed. I wasn't in his business. You know what? I wasn't in his mind and in his body and in his. I mean, it might look like he didn't change, but I have no idea his thought process or maybe his actions never change. I really don't know.
Well,
I
I
just
know.
I just know, and we talked about this a few shows ago about everything vibrating and the cells are vibrating. Nothing's even connected. We're not even a form. The form is part of an illusion. So all these cells are moving around. All the planets are always moving and spinning. Earth. So there is a movement. I don't know if it's a circle. Maybe they just keep going in a cycle. But there is movement.
Oh,
Sorry, I talked for longer than 30 seconds. Back to you. The other thing I wanted to bring up with help, which is new for me, is I have an online trainer now, and the trainer is for workouts and nutrition, and it's very new. It's not even a full week yet, and I'm thinking, one of my beliefs is why would I have a trainer when I already know a lot about fitness and nutrition? And I thought maybe I can make better progress with a trainer than just on my own. How about getting some help? Why can't I get help in this area? Just because I work in this area too, and because I have a lot of experience and knowledge. What about getting help? So we'll see. I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe it's not going to work. Maybe I won't see a change. Maybe I will see a small change,
give me one more maybe.
which is actually another one of my topics.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Because I want to say that one of my goals. I just have one goal. Physical goal.
The maybe is a sign of humility, and because I don't know. That's why I say
Humility is a program. One of the one of the things that I have a goal at the end of before the end of my life is to do the splits. Did I ever tell you that?
no. I've never heard that.
Yes, to do the splits. I mean, I wanted to do the splits forever. And what you're addressing, what you said, I'm going to need help with that. So there are, just like you said, online, some stretching, opening the hips. And I know that I'm going to need, in fact, they even target older people and how to make them more flexible. And I saw this one lady, gray hair, she's in this full split. So you're absolutely right. I'm definitely going to need help for that. So yeah, I agree. Next topic.
And
Which is going to be my turn because you've been giving the topics and the word and everything, and I'm almost no. I'm going to talk about grace. You gifted me grace this week. Or maybe it was last week. I got in my son's business. I made a comment online about how to walk those cats. It bothered my ego that you were walking the cats one at a time, and then my dear Lexi Field was in the window howling like somebody was strangling her, and that triggered me in so many different ways. Well, she's crying and you're just leaving her. What? And I made a comment about about walking, come back quickly. And I was in your business, Nathan. 2 comments. And then one of your friends said, leaving the cats alone, they're lonely or they get bored. That's getting bored. Well, how do you know? Talk about how do you know about Gramps? How do you know cats are bored? What is that anyway? How does a human know how an animal feels? Bored is a human state. So dogs and animals are bored. Anyway, I was in your business and you granted me grace with so much love and so much acceptance. And thank you for that.
yeah, that's a good topic. That was a really beautiful moment for both of us. I think that was this past week. And then we were on the phone and we talked about grace. You said that to me, and that was the end of the day, and I felt full again just with that word and that energy of giving grace and giving myself grace. Just letting people off the hook, letting people be human. That's what it feels like to me. The human is, like you said, your ego or your identity had a problem, and our ego cuts in and butts in and does things and slips up and bumps around, and that to me is a grace.
Yes. And before you can give grace to others, the practice is to give grace to self.
Yes, and a little backstory with the cats. They both do that. They both howl. They're both very dramatic. Not every time, they've gotten a little bit better. And I used to walk them two at a time, and that was more chaotic for them and for me doing two at a time because they don't walk at the same pace. One of them smelling, the one of them gets scared, the leashes are going in opposite directions. So I decided to walk one at a time one night or one day, and it was so much smoother. So that's why I do that. And I've talked to you about this, and when they were, young, they're still young, but they are they like each other. They spend a lot of time together. They are attached to each other. And I don't know if it's healthy or not healthy, but for me, y'all need to get used to not having your kitty sister around. Because if I need to take one to the vet, if I need to, whatever happens, something happens to them and they fall apart because they're so attached all the time and I keep them together all the time, well, now they're screwed. And you talked to, I think we talked about, you talked to me about you dying and setting up a relationship where I'm so broken, so defeated at your death. Well, what kind of relationship did we create to where I got to that point of just crumbling? I mean, sad, grieving, absolute, human emotion, natural emotion, but crumbling because I'm dependent, like you said, the needing. So that's going through my head too. And I hear it, I don't like hearing that, but to me, those are, what did they call it? Tears. What is it?
Torture.
No, crocodile tears.
Oh, cry. But let me say something. And while you were talking, and I totally get it. Animals, but animals are very different. Animals are different. They're animals. They're not people. And
Well, we're animals too. But continue.
and they will get through whatever they get through, and don't think they're gonna be saved because of what you're doing and walking them separately. That's all I'm gonna say. Whatever they experience, whether they're together or whether they're not, or whether one gets sick and one of them's around, what am I trying to control how they're going to react in the future? They're animals. They're going to go through. In fact, one of my girlfriends, one of her dogs died, and the dog was really old, 16 years old, 17 years old. And then the other dog, there was a younger dog in the house. And then she's, oh, this dog is grieving. They're grieving. You don't know what the dogs are doing. The animals will get through whatever they will go through whatever, regardless of what I try to make happen. I cannot control anyone's emotions. And even when I croak, if I croak before you, you're going to go through whatever emotions, regardless of what we've been talking about and doing and practicing. You're going to still go through yours. I'm just giving you anyway. But that's where I'm coming from. And if they were for me, I don't know. Listen, I get both sides, but I would definitely see that the friction came from them walking and they go this way. Well, that just comes from they're not trained. And patience. I would walk them together and see what happens when I'm walking them. In fact, when I come to visit in California, I'll walk both of them and I'll show you how to do it.
Absolutely. You're sounding very grandma. You're sounding very mom. You're sounding very Mother Knows Best. And it's very understandable, acceptable. And listen, I'll probably do it too. If this family tree keeps going, I know what's best. And yeah, I would love to see you walk the cats.
That is exactly what I'm going to do when I visit. I would love to walk both of
And
them.
see this, everybody, all the 2 listeners or 3 listeners or 2 that left and came back, this is what it's been like.
Oh, I may understand something now.
And the animals, it's such a tough call because
Okay,
yes.
next topic. And the next topic is,
Oh, from you or from me?
okay, let me share this topic. I was listening to the radio yesterday on my way somewhere, and it was a country station, as one of my friends called. You're still listening to that horse music? I love country music. And before the commercial, the guy says, "Boy, oh boy, I've got some sad news." And the lady said, there were 2 disc jockeys, and the lady says, "Oh yes, this broke my heart. Wait till you hear when we come back from commercial. You're going to hear the saddest news ever. Oh boy, it just broke my heart." So I'm supposed to hang on to listen to sad news. Why do people share bad news, sad news? And what is that besides a program?
Great topic and question and yeah, and story. Why do people share bad news? Well, to me, bad news, if we take out the bad, it's just news. It's just a story. And we're storytellers. I mean, as far as difference between people and animals, people are storytellers from the very beginning.
Program people are storytellers. Go ahead.
You like stories. I like stories. All we ever do is tell each other stories, and we got plenty of them. We got more coming in. And we do tell bad news stories. Guess what happened to me? You tell me bad news stories, and I did.
When was the last bad news? Okay, now we're
A couple. What do you mean? A couple days ago? I mean, all I have to do is just check the voice memos. What are you talking about?
What? No, really. What bad news did I share? Did I tell you about the mass shootings? What bad news did I share?
Well, you're not sharing about news about other people, though. You're sharing about you.
And I said it was bad news.
Well, you don't use those words, but when you were challenged, when you were challenged, something came up, when you were identifying with your ego, it's all stories.
No, but that's not bad news. That's
Well, it's
sharing.
not good news. Well, what is it?
What it is an observation of how my ego takes control and how my ego, you said it, the ego is out for blood. I'll never forget that. Was a really good line. And I was sharing with you how my ego takes over and wraps me up into this Rebecca Norrington identity and not having any patience with customer service. But it's not I'm talking about bad news. Oh, 500 children got run over, got burned alive, that kind of stuff, that kind of sensational bad news. That's what I'm talking about. Not personal growth stories. That's not bad news. That's just experiences. No. I'm talking about people sharing bad news. Like when I would call grandma, did you hear the one about the mass murder? Did you hear who died? Did you hear the country that got blown up? And that kind of bad news, the sensational bad news. That's what I'm talking about. It's a big difference.
Well, that is different. It is different I think in the sense
and
of
you see what I'm going through, audience, all you 0 people watching, you see what I go through. It's a constant, you're wrong, Mom.
Well, you got to be wrong sometime. I mean, I can't just live this whole life with me being wrong the whole time. That's terrible.
I didn't say that you were wrong. I'm just saying that I'm right.
And see that's where the confusion starts. So if it's not a straight punch to the face, it's a bob and weave, and she's doing magic tricks, and she's got 100 tricks up her sleeve. Anyways,
but you survived. And I prepared you for this cruel, cruel world. That's what I've done. If you can survive me, you can survive the world.
I don't know what I was doing trying to up my game living in New York for, trying to get tougher and more resilient in the real world. I should have just lived with you for 14 years.
Thank you. Now
So
you
that,
get it.
so, but which is a really good topic. I think they have similarities. They have similarities in the eliciting an emotion, that there's a human emotion, listening an emotion. And I know exactly what you're talking about, that bad news. And that is, it's like, for me, it feels like someone just walked over to me and just dumped all over me.
And it goes back to, what does the man with the hump in his back want more than anything else? He wants you to have a hump too. He wants you to feel bad too. So that's the sharing of bad news. In fact, that's in my book. One of the 56 program behaviors that subtracts from happiness is sharing bad news.
Well, sharing bad news, and I want to share good news too. Part of my humanness wants to connect with other humans and not feel like I'm the only human around here feeling bad. I'm the only human around here thinking something's funny. The only human around here appreciating a piece of art or a tree. There's something about doing it together that is important.
Well, and that's why I'm not human. You keep identifying with the human, with the person. No, I'm identifying with a little bit different. I'm way out there. I'm identifying with the energy that cannot be identified. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Well, yes, yes, yes. And my intention is also to do that and make sure I don't float off too much into space. And I do have a body. I am what we call human for this time. And that's what my mirror tells me.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. Amazing.
You're amazing.
We didn't really get to our words of the week, but we are winding down soon.
Well, well, we've had an eclectic show.
Yes.
And after the show is over, I will continue with my debauchery day. I plan to have a debauchery day.
And now that you mention it, I'll probably have some debauchery too. Some much needed debauchery. I had to prep all week for this show.
Well,
I sure as hell wasn't showing up like I did last week.
oh, come on. Well, the way you showed up last week was perfect.
Was perfect. Well, it was perfect.
We had the most listens and the most views ever.
Oh, really?
No.
I was going to say I should be in a bad mood more often, but I guess not.
Well, be careful what you ask for. The difference is it's a bad mood or a worse mood.
I'll take that.
Let me just go to this topic, because you were saying something, Nathan. We're talking about struggling this week and struggling to making a decision, writing a text, making a phone call when I can feel that I'm not at peace. I'm coming from a place of either emotions or irritation or anger or whatever the emotion is that's not at my highest level. In other words, communicating while I'm in that state. And one of the things that you said was that communication without, do I have expectations? Do I have an agenda? And you said one more thing. In other words, be mindful of communicating in that state and knowing, for me, when I do communicate when I'm at this level, then it's not going to be peaceful. It's just not.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. It definitely won't be peaceful for me, and it's already not peaceful for me. In me, the thought of texting, thinking about the person, what I want to do, none of that feels peaceful. So that's a sign for me to pause and just wait and focus on something else. Well,
Eh, Hold on, one thing. All of the struggles, all of the turmoil and the struggles and the tightness and the all of it is there, is the challenge, all of that weight, all of that heaviness, all of that angst is there for a reason. For me, it's there to take me to another level of understanding, another level of perspective. Growth doesn't, for me, doesn't come, different. It comes from a challenge. It's part of it. It's a necessary experience. The uncomfortableness, I don't care how long it lasts, is a part of it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like the humanness, that the humanness, all that struggle, the stress, all of that to elevate to what you're talking about and connecting to it, what cannot be identified.
Would you like to tell the audience who you're texting?
Yeah, or you broke up just a little bit, but I was just going to summarize the show really briefly.
Perfect.
So we at the beginning we talked about all these relationships and dating that are here to show us something. We talked about those dating questions and really getting to know someone really simply and cleanly, expectations of relationships, and you're, you're so bad. Expectations of relationships and this I need something from other people. Stay right there. Getting help, grace, difference between animals and people. Why do people share these sensational bad news? And do we have an agenda communicating? And what are we trying to do communicating? Are we really going for peace, or what are we doing?
And also how much you love and care about your mother.
Well, that's very true. I was just about to say that. And I do care and love you very much. And I'm grateful to do the show with you. And I'm grateful to be done.
It's time to go. Yeah. You know what it is. Get into it.
Can I have it louder?
Don't act like you don't already know the name. Let's go. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? You heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? I said you heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. What? I said you heard me. Mother and son making sense out of nonsense. Plus more. Now it's over. Now let's listen.
The end.
The end.